I was scrubbing floors in a military facility when a 4-star commander froze mid-step, staring at my neck like he'd seen a ghost. Because the tattoo hidden under my collar told a story that could destroy everything I'd built. My name is Vivian Archer, but for the last 3 years, I've been dead. At least that's what every government record says. That's what my former colleagues believe. That's what the people who tried to kill me think. And I've worked hard to keep it that way. Right now I'm Vera Collins, 32 years old, widowed, no children, no family worth mentioning. I clean floors at Camp Aldridge, a sprawling military base outside San Diego, where thousands of people pass through every day, and nobody looks twice at the woman pushing a mop bucket. That invisibility has kept me alive. It's given me access to places and conversations that would be impossible for anyone else. It's allowed me to hunt the person who betrayed my team without anyone knowing I'm still breathing. But invisibility only works if nobody recognizes you. And on this particular Tuesday morning, someone just did. General Raymond Kowalski is 58 years old, decorated with more commendations than I can count, and commands the entire Western Regional Base. He's the kind of man who notices everything, the kind who built his career on reading people, on catching the details everyone else misses. And right now his sharp gray eyes are locked on the tiny scorpion tattoo on my neck that I forgot to cover when I pulled my hair. Up to deal with the broken air conditioning in the hallway, my heart is slamming against my ribs so hard I'm sure he can hear it. My hands are gripping the mop handle like it's the only thing keeping me upright. Because that tattoo is more than ink. It's a death sentence. It marks me as a member of Scorpion Unit, an elite intelligence division that officially never existed. A division where 5 operatives died 3 years ago during a mission that went catastrophically wrong because someone sold us out to the enemy. I was the only one who survived, and I've spent every day since then hunting the traitor who murdered my team. Now the highest-ranking officer on this base is staring at the one piece of evidence that proves I'm not who I claim to be, and I have exactly 3 seconds to decide whether to run, fight, or trust that maybe, just maybe, he's not the enemy. Behind the general stands Lieutenant Dalton Cross, the security chief who's made it his personal mission to treat every janitor on this base like we're barely human. He's 41, arrogant and cruel in the casual way that people are when they think nobody important is watching. He hasn't noticed the tattoo yet. He's too busy looking at me like I'm trash that needs to be swept away, but the general sees it. And the way his jaw tightens, the way his posture shifts just slightly, tells me he knows exactly what that scorpion means. The hallway suddenly feels like it's closing in. The fluorescent lights are too bright. The smell of industrial cleaner is overwhelming. Everything in my training is screaming at me to move, to disappear before this situation spirals beyond my control. I have an exit strategy. I always have an exit strategy. My brother Owen is 2 miles away with a car, a new identity, and enough cash to get me across the border before anyone realizes I'm gone. But there's something in the general's eyes. Not anger, not alarm, something else. Recognition, yes, but also calculation. Like he's been waiting for this moment. Like maybe I'm not the only one who's been hunting answers in the shadows. The general takes 1 step closer. His voice is low, controlled. The kind of voice that could command a battlefield or end a career with equal ease. He doesn't look at Lieutenant Cross, he doesn't look at anyone else. His attention is completely, terrifyingly focused on me. And then he says the words that change everything. Ms. Collins, I need you to come with me. Now. It's not a request. It's an order. And the way he says my fake name, with just the slightest edge of emphasis, tells me he knows it's fake. He knows who I really am. Lieutenant Cross steps forward, his hand moving instinctively toward his sidearm. His voice is sharp with suspicion and something that might be excitement at the prospect of catching someone doing something wrong. He lives for moments like this. Sir, if there's a security concern, I should handle it. This is my jurisdiction. But the general doesn't even glance at him. His eyes stay locked on mine, and I can see the message there as clearly as if he'd spoken it aloud. Trust me or run. Those are your only options. Choose now. Every instinct I have, every lesson learned from 3 years of survival tells me to run. But I didn't survive this long by only following instinct. I survived by reading people, by understanding the difference between a threat and an opportunity. And right now, standing in this hallway with my carefully constructed identity crumbling around me, I'm looking at either my execution or my salvation. The general is still waiting. His hand is extended slightly, not threatening, almost gentle, like he's offering help rather than arrest. Behind him, Lieutenant Cross is getting impatient, his fingers drumming against his belt. Other people are starting to notice the tension. Rhonda, the grandmother who works the morning shift with me, is watching from down the hall with concern written all over her face. Jerome, the veteran with the bad knee, has stopped emptying trash cans and is slowly moving closer, probably ready to defend me if needed. They're good people. They've treated me like family. They have no idea who I really am or what I've done, and if I run right now, if I disappear again, they'll be questioned. Their lives will be turned upside down because they had the misfortune of being kind to a ghost. I make my decision. I release the mop handle and straighten my spine, letting Vivian Archer show through the mask of Vera Collins for the first time in 3 years. My voice comes out steady, clear, nothing like the soft-spoken janitor these people know. "Lead the way, General," Lieutenant Cross protests, but Kowalski silences him with a look that could freeze lava. We walk down the hallway together, the General and the dead woman heading toward whatever comes next. My mind is already racing through scenarios, calculating odds, preparing for interrogation or worse. But as we turn the corner toward the command offices, the General leans in just slightly and speaks so quietly that only I can hear. "I've been hoping you were still alive, Operative Archer. We have a lot to discuss." And suddenly I realize that maybe I'm not alone in this fight after all. Maybe the hunter has just found an ally. Or maybe I'm walking straight into the trap I've been avoiding for 3 years. Either way, there's no turning back now. The ghost has been seen, and everything is about to change. 3 years ago, Vivian Archer died. The official report said I was killed during a classified operation in North Africa, caught in an ambush that left my entire team dead. There was a memorial service. My name was added to a wall of fallen operatives in a building so secure that most people don't even know it exists. My personal effects were boxed up and supposedly sent to my next of kin, except I didn't have any next of kin. Not officially. What I had was Owen, my younger brother by 3 years, the only family I had left after our parents died in a car accident when I was 19. Owen was the smartest person I'd ever known, a software engineer who worked for a civilian defense contractor and had a gift for making digital footprints disappear. When I showed up at his apartment in Seattle at 3 in the morning, bleeding from a bullet wound and half dead from exhaustion, he didn't ask questions. He just pulled me inside, patched me up, and listened while I told him everything. I told him about the mission that went wrong, about how we were supposed to be extracting a high-value asset from a compound outside Benghazi, how we had solid intelligence and a clean extraction route, about how we walked straight into an ambush because someone had given the enemy our exact coordinates, our entry points, our team call signs, about how I watched my teammates die one by one while I crawled through sewage and rubble to escape, about how I realized, lying in that filth with bullets tearing apart the walls above me, that the betrayal had come from inside. Someone in Scorpion Unit, someone we trusted, had sold us out. Owen's face went pale as I talked. His hands were shaking as he cleaned and bandaged the gunshot wound that had torn through my shoulder. When I finished, he was quiet for a long time. Then he looked at me with those serious brown eyes and said the words that would define the next 3 years of my life. "If you go back, they'll kill you. Whoever did this can't risk you asking questions. You need to disappear, Viv. Really disappear. And I can make that happen." It took him 2 weeks. 2 weeks of me hiding in his apartment, healing, planning, grieving for teammates whose funerals I couldn't attend. Owen worked through the nights, his fingers flying across multiple keyboards, breaking into databases I didn't even know existed. He created Vera Collins from nothing. A complete identity with a birth certificate, school records, work history, even a deceased husband to explain why I was alone and starting over. He made sure Vera had just enough digital presence to seem real, but not enough to attract attention. A few social media posts spread over years. Some old photographs with faces blurred enough to be anyone. A credit history that was unremarkable but solid. Then he erased Vivian Archer. Not completely, that would have been suspicious. But he made sure that if anyone went looking, they'd find exactly what they expected to find. A dead operative, a closed case, nothing worth investigating further. The last thing he did was give me an encrypted phone that connected only to him. We could talk, but the communications were routed through so many proxies and servers that tracing them would be nearly impossible. He made me promise to check in every week just so he'd know I was alive. Then he drove me to the bus station and hugged me goodbye like he might never see me again. "Be careful," he whispered against my hair, "and come back when it's done." I didn't tell him that I might never be done, that hunting a traitor with infinite resources and institutional protection might take years or forever, that I might end up actually dead this time, buried in an unmarked grave somewhere with no one to remember my real name. For 3 years, I've been a ghost. I've worked every kind of minimum wage job you can imagine, always moving, never staying in one place long enough to form real connections. I've been a waitress in Portland, a grocery store clerk in Phoenix, a hotel maid in Las Vegas. Each job gave me access to different kinds of people, different conversations, different opportunities to gather information. I listened. I watched. I hacked into computers left unattended. I photographed documents that were carelessly left visible. I built a network of fragments, pieces of a puzzle that was slowly, painfully taking shape. 6 months ago, I came to San Diego. Camp Aldridge was hiring civilian cleaning staff, and Owen had managed to get me through the background check using Vera Collins's spotless but boring history. It was perfect. Military facilities are fortresses from the outside, but once you're inside, once you're part of the invisible workforce that keeps the place running, you have access to everything. People talk around janitors like we don't exist. They leave classified documents on their desks when they go to lunch because who would suspect the cleaning lady of being a threat? They use their computers in open offices while we empty their trash cans, never thinking we might be watching their screens. I've been at Camp Aldridge for 6 months now, and it's been the most productive 6 months of my investigation. I've identified 3 officers who had connections to Scorpion unit operations. I've traced communication patterns that suggest someone in command operations has been feeding intelligence to foreign assets for years. I've found financial irregularities, encrypted messages, suspicious travel records. I'm close. I can feel it. The traitor is here, somewhere in this facility, walking around free while my teammates are dead. My life as Vera Collins is small and carefully constructed. I live in a cramped 1-bedroom apartment above a laundromat on the outskirts of the city. The walls are thin enough that I can hear my neighbors arguing at night. The shower only has hot water about half the time, but it's cheap and the landlord doesn't ask questions, and that's all that matters. I don't have friends. I don't date. I don't do anything that might make me memorable or draw attention. I go to work, I do my job, I go home. I'm the most boring person you've ever met, except I'm not. Behind the mask of Vera Collins, Vivian Archer is still very much alive. Every night after my shifts end, I spend hours analyzing the information I've gathered. I cross-reference names and dates. I decrypt communications using techniques Owen taught me. I map out organizational structures and identify weak points where a traitor could operate undetected. My apartment looks empty to casual observation, but hidden in a false panel behind my kitchen cabinet is a laptop with enough classified information to send me to prison for the rest of my life. Also hidden there is a weapon, cash, 3 different sets of false identification, and a go bag packed and ready in case I need to run. The other janitors at Camp Aldridge have become something like friends, even though I know I can't trust them with the truth. Rhonda is 63, a grandmother who's been cleaning military facilities for 20 years. She brings homemade chocolate chip cookies to work every Friday and insists that everyone takes them home. She talks constantly about her grandchildren, showing pictures on her phone, beaming with pride at their accomplishments. She's kind in a way that makes my chest ache because I remember having people like that in my life before everything fell apart. Jerome is 57, a Navy veteran who took a medical discharge after an IED in Afghanistan shattered his knee. He moves slowly but never complains, just does his work with quiet dignity. Sometimes he talks about his service, about the people he served with, and I have to be careful not to say too much, not to reveal that I understand military life from the inside rather than as an observer. He treats me gently, like he senses something broken in me even if he doesn't know what it is. Then there's Lieutenant Dalton Cross. He's the head of base security, and he's made it abundantly clear that he considers the cleaning staff to be barely human. He snaps orders, makes dismissive comments, and generally acts like we're obstacles in his path rather than people doing necessary work. Most of the janitors are intimidated by him. They rush to get out of his way, apologize for existing in his presence, make themselves as small as possible. I hate him. Not because he's rude, though he is. Not because he's arrogant, though he's that too. I hate him because something about him sets off every alarm bell in my training. The way he watches people. The way he asks casual questions that aren't casual at all. The way he seems to know things he shouldn't know. I've been watching him for 3 months now, and I'm almost certain he's involved in whatever corruption is happening at this facility. I just can't prove it yet. My routine is rigid because routine creates invisibility. I wake up at 5 every morning. I go for a run, keeping my body in the kind of shape that Vivian Archer needs even if Vera Collins doesn't. I shower, dress in my shapeless uniform, pull my hair back tight to hide the scorpion tattoo, and head to work. I clock in at 7. I clean administrative offices from 7 to 11. I take lunch in the staff break room, eating the same sandwich I pack every day, listening to Rhonda talk about her grandchildren and Jerome talk about baseball. I clean residential buildings from noon to 3. I clock out at 3:30. I go home, I cook simple meals. I pretend to watch television. I work on my investigation until late into the night. I sleep for a few hours. I wake up and do it all again. Every week I call Owen using the encrypted phone. He's the only person who knows I'm alive. He's the only person I trust completely. Our conversations are brief and carefully worded in case someone has somehow broken his encryption. But just hearing his voice reminds me that I'm still human, that I still have something worth fighting for beyond revenge. How's the weather? He'll ask, which is code for whether I'm in danger. Cloudy but stable, I'll respond, meaning I'm fine but making no progress. Any storms on the horizon? Are you getting close? Maybe. Hard to tell. Yes, but I don't know when it'll break. Last month, he asked me a different question. When it's over, what then? Do you think you can go back to being Vivian? I didn't have an answer. The truth is, I don't know who Vivian Archer is anymore. I've been Vera Collins for so long that sometimes I forget where the mask ends and the real person begins. I've spent 3 years being invisible, being dismissed, being nothing. Some part of me has started to believe that's all I am. But then I remember my teammates. Sarah, who had a daughter she adored. Marcus, who was planning to propose to his boyfriend when we got back from the mission. Chen, who was the best strategist I'd ever worked with. Rodriguez, who could defuse any bomb and told terrible jokes. Captain Hayes, our team leader, who treated us like family. They're dead because someone betrayed them, and as long as that person is walking free, I can't rest. I can't move on. I can't be anything except what I am right now, a hunter wearing the disguise of prey. This morning started like every other morning. I woke up at 5. I ran, I showered. I dressed. I pulled my hair back into its usual tight bun. But the apartment was unusually hot because the building's air conditioning had broken again, and I was running a few minutes late. So when I secured my hair, I didn't check as carefully as I should have. I didn't notice that the collar of my uniform had shifted slightly. I didn't realize that the tiny scorpion tattoo on my neck, usually hidden, was partially visible. That small mistake is about to change everything. Tuesday morning arrives with the kind of oppressive heat that makes everything feel slower, heavier. The air conditioning in the administrative wing is struggling, and by the time I arrive for my shift, the hallways are already uncomfortably warm. Rhonda is fanning herself with a folder she found on someone's desk, and Jerome is moving even more slowly than usual, his face flushed from the heat. Lieutenant Cross meets us at the security checkpoint with his usual contempt radiating off him like heat waves. He's reviewing the day's assignments on a tablet, not bothering to look at any of us as he speaks. Administrative offices first, then the residential quarters. We have VIP inspections this afternoon, so everything needs to be spotless. And I mean spotless. If I find so much as a fingerprint on a window, someone's getting written up. Rhonda catches my eye and rolls hers slightly. It's a small gesture of solidarity that makes me feel almost normal, almost like I'm really just Vera Collins, a woman who shares the universal experience of dealing with a terrible boss. But then Cross looks up from his tablet, and his gaze lands on me with an intensity that makes my skin crawl. You're assigned to command operations today, Vera. Deep cleaning. Conference rooms, private offices, the works. My heart rate spikes immediately, but I keep my expression neutral and bored. Command operations is the nerve center of Camp Aldridge, where high-ranking officers make decisions that affect operations across the entire Western region. It's also heavily restricted, requiring additional security clearance even for cleaning staff. In 6 months of working here, I've only been assigned to that wing twice, and both times I was escorted and monitored constantly. Yes, sir, I say quietly, keeping my eyes down like a good, submissive employee. Don't touch anything you don't need to touch. Don't look at anything on any desks or screens. Do your job and get out. Understood? Understood. He stares at me for another long moment, and I can feel him trying to find something wrong, some reason to deny me access or write me up. But Vera Collins has a spotless record. She's never been late, never called in sick, never caused any problems. There's nothing he can use against me. Get moving then. You've got 3 hours before the VIP inspection. I collect my cleaning supplies and head toward command operations, my mind already racing. This is an opportunity. 3 hours of access to offices that could contain exactly the kind of information I need. Officers in command operations would have known about Scorpion unit deployments. They would have had access to mission parameters, team compositions, intelligence briefings. If someone sold out my team, there might be evidence in those offices, but I have to be careful. Cross is suspicious, I can feel it, and being assigned to such a sensitive area means I'll be watched more closely than usual. I can't afford any mistakes. The security checkpoint for command operations requires a badge scan, a palm print, and a visual verification from the guard on duty. The guard today is someone I don't recognize, a young corporal who barely glances at me before waving me through. Another advantage of being invisible. To him, I'm just another cleaning lady not worth his attention. The hallway beyond the checkpoint is quieter than the rest of the facility, carpeted instead of tiled, with framed photographs of military operations lining the walls. The doors are all closed and labeled with titles rather than names. Conference Room 7B, Deputy Commander's Office, Intelligence Analysis, Strategic Planning. I start with the conference rooms, methodical and thorough. I wipe down tables, vacuum floors, clean windows, empty trash cans. And I watch. I observe. Every piece of paper left on a table gets photographed with the tiny camera hidden in my cleaning cart before I move it. Every computer screen left unlocked gets quickly scanned for anything useful. Every conversation I overhear through partially open doors gets memorized and analyzed. Most of it is routine. Budget discussions, personnel complaints, logistics planning, but then I'm outside Conference Room 7B mopping the hallway, and I hear voices that make me freeze. We can't keep covering for operational failures. Dalton. That's General Kowalski's voice, hard and uncompromising. I've seen him around the facility but never spoken to him directly. He's the kind of officer who commands respect through presence rather than volume. Sir, with respect, the intelligence leaks from 3 years ago were investigated thoroughly. The case was closed. Lieutenant Cross, my grip tightens on the mop handle. Closed, yes. Resolved, no. 5 operatives dead and we still don't know who sold them out. My breath catches in my throat. They're talking about my mission. About my team. The investigation concluded that Operative Archer was the likely source of the leak. She disappeared, presumably went underground or was eliminated by her handlers. Case closed. Cross's voice is smooth, confident, but there's something underneath it. Something that sounds almost like satisfaction. I never believed that conclusion. Archer's record was impeccable. She had no financial problems, no suspicious contacts, no motive. The evidence against her was circumstantial at best. Sometimes the best operatives are the best liars, sir. Or sometimes we close cases because it's convenient, because keeping them open would require us to consider uncomfortable possibilities. Like the possibility that the traitor is still here, still trusted, still feeding intelligence to our enemies. There's a long silence. I'm holding my breath, pressing myself against the wall, desperate to hear more. But I'm also acutely aware that I'm standing in a restricted hallway, clearly eavesdropping on a classified conversation. If anyone comes around the corner right now, I'm finished. Are you suggesting that I should reopen the investigation, sir? Based on what evidence? Based on the fact that the leaks haven't stopped. We've had 3 more intelligence breaches in the last 18 months. Different operations, different teams, but the same pattern. Someone with high-level access is selling us out, and they've been doing it for years. That's a serious accusation, General. It's not an accusation. It's an observation. And I'm telling you, as head of base security, that I expect you to take it seriously. More silence. Then Cross speaks again, his voice colder now. I'll look into it, sir. But if Archer is alive, if she's the traitor and she's still operating, we need to find her before she does more damage. If she's alive, Lieutenant, then maybe she's been doing exactly what I've been doing, looking for the truth. I hear footsteps approaching the door. I need to move, need to look like I'm working. But my body feels frozen. My mind is reeling. Kowalski doesn't think I'm the traitor. He thinks I'm still hunting. And Cross is defending the official story a little too aggressively. pushing a narrative that conveniently puts all the blame on a dead operative who can't defend herself. The door starts to open. I force myself to move, to step back and start mopping, but I'm not thinking clearly. My movements are jerky, panicked. My elbow catches the edge of a framed photograph on the wall. It tilts, wobbles, and then crashes to the floor with a sound that seems impossibly loud in the quiet hallway. Glass shatters. The frame splits, and suddenly General Kowalski is standing in the doorway, his sharp gray eyes fixed directly on me. Behind him, Lieutenant Cross is already reaching for his sidearm, his face twisted with suspicion and something that might be alarm. "What the hell are you doing?" Cross's voice is sharp enough to cut. I drop immediately to my knees, my mind racing for a response that Vera Collins would give. "I'm so sorry, sir. I was just cleaning and I didn't realize how close I was to the wall. It was an accident. I'll clean it up right away. I'll pay for the damage. I'm so sorry." I'm babbling, keeping my head down, letting my hair fall forward to hide my face and especially my neck. My hands are shaking as I reach for the broken glass, and that's good. That's what Vera would do. She'd be terrified of getting in trouble, of losing her job. But General Kowalski doesn't move. He just stands there, watching me with an intensity that makes my skin prickle with awareness. I can feel his gaze like a physical weight. "Look at me." It's not a request. It's a command, delivered in a tone that expects immediate obedience. I've heard that tone before in my previous life from commanding officers who wouldn't accept anything less than complete compliance. I slowly raise my head, keeping my expression scared and apologetic. Our eyes meet, and for just a moment I see something flicker across his face. Recognition. Not of Vera Collins, but of something else. Something he wasn't expecting to find in a cleaning lady kneeling in broken glass. Then his gaze drops, just for a fraction of a second. To my neck, I feel the exact moment he sees it. The tiny scorpion tattoo that I forgot to cover properly this morning, because I was rushing, because the heat made me careless, because 3 years of careful discipline broke down over something as stupid as being a few minutes late. His expression doesn't change. He doesn't gasp or point or call for backup, but his body language shifts in a way that only someone with extensive training would notice. His weight settles differently. His shoulders square. His hand, which had been hanging loosely at his side, moves slightly closer to his belt. He knows. He absolutely knows. "Lieutenant Cross," he says without taking his eyes off me. "Escort the other cleaning staff to the break room. They can take an early lunch. I need to speak with Ms. Collins privately about proper protocols in restricted areas." Cross looks confused, his hand still hovering near his weapon. "Sir, if there's a security breach, I should be present for any questioning. This is my jurisdiction. This isn't a security breach, Lieutenant. It's a training issue. I'll handle it." "But sir—" "Now, Lieutenant." The command in Kowalski's voice is unmistakable. "This is not a discussion." Cross's jaw tightens, and for a moment I think he's going to argue. But then he nods stiffly and steps back. "Yes, sir. I'll be in the security office if you need me." He walks away, but not before shooting me a look that promises this isn't over. The moment he's gone, the hallway feels different, smaller, more dangerous. Kowalski stands there, silent for what feels like an eternity. I remain kneeling in the broken glass, my mind cycling through every possible response. I could run. I've mapped every exit in this building. I know the shift changes for the guards, the blind spots in the security cameras, the fastest route to the parking lot where I keep a backup car with false plates registered to an identity that doesn't exist. But running would confirm everything. It would trigger a manhunt. It would put Owen at risk because they'd definitely investigate my connections, and no matter how careful we've been, there's always a chance they'd find something. So I stay where I am, waiting, calculating, preparing for whatever comes next. Finally, Kowalski speaks. His voice is quiet, controlled, but there's an edge to it that wasn't there before. "Stand up, Operative Archer." The name hits me like a physical blow. I stand slowly, glass crunching under my shoes, my heart hammering so hard I'm surprised he can't hear it. I don't deny it. There's no point. He's already seen the tattoo, already made the connection. Denying would just insult his intelligence. We stand there facing each other. A general and a ghost, a man with all the power of the military behind him and a woman who's been legally dead for 3 years. "You're going to want to explain," he continues, his voice dangerously quiet. "Why a dead woman is mopping my floors. and why she was listening to a classified conversation, and why she's been working at this facility for 6 months without anyone recognizing her. I meet his gaze steadily, letting Vivian Archer show through for the first time in years. When I speak, my voice is different, stronger, more confident. Nothing like the soft, apologetic tone Vera Collins uses. If I'm dead, sir, then you're talking to a ghost. And ghosts don't have to follow protocol. His eyebrow raises slightly. Is that what you've been doing? Operating outside protocol? I've been hunting a traitor, sir. Someone in Scorpion Unit sold out my team. Someone who's still here, still trusted, still in the system feeding intelligence to our enemies. And based on that conversation I just overheard, I think you already suspect who it is. General Kowalski's expression remains unreadable, but I can see him processing what I just said, weighing his options. He could arrest me right now, call security, have me detained and interrogated. My entire investigation would be over, and I'd spend the rest of my life in a military prison for desertion and operating under a false identity. But he doesn't reach for his radio. He doesn't call for backup. Instead, he reaches into his jacket pocket and pulls out a small black device about the size of a deck of cards. He presses a button on top and a tiny green light illuminates. Signal jammer, he says quietly. We're in a communication dead zone now. No recordings, no transmissions, no one listening. You have 5 minutes to convince me not to have you arrested. I take a breath, organizing my thoughts. I've rehearsed this moment 1,000 times in my head, imagining what I'd say if I was ever discovered. But now that it's actually happening, the words feel inadequate. 3 years ago, my team was sent to extract a high-value asset from Benghazi. We had solid intelligence, a clean plan, and experienced operators. But when we arrived, the enemy was waiting for us. They knew our entry points, our call signs, our extraction routes. Every single detail. It wasn't bad luck or good enemy intelligence. It was betrayal from the inside. Kowalski's face remains neutral, but I see his jaw tighten slightly. 5 people died that night, sir. Good people. People who trusted the system to protect them. I survived because I got lucky and because I realized what was happening fast enough to go dark. When I made it back to friendly territory, I had a choice. I could report what happened and hope someone would investigate properly, or I could recognize that whoever sold us out had enough power to cover their tracks and would absolutely kill me to keep me quiet. So you faked your death. My brother helped me disappear. He's a civilian software engineer with no military connections, no security clearance. Nothing that would make him a target. He created Vera Collins from scratch and made sure Vivian Archer stayed buried. For 3 years I've been invisible, working minimum wage jobs, moving constantly, gathering evidence piece by piece. Evidence of what exactly? That the intelligence leaks didn't start or stop with my mission. I've tracked 7 separate breaches over the past 5 years, all following the same pattern. Someone with high-level clearance has been selling operational intelligence to foreign assets. The breaches are spaced out enough that they don't immediately appear connected, but when you map them, the pattern is clear, and they all trace back to personnel with access to Scorpion Unit operations. Kowalski is silent for a moment, his eyes searching my face. You heard what I said in that conference room. About the recent breaches. Yes, sir. 3 more in 18 months, which means the traitor is still active, still operating with impunity. And based on Lieutenant Cross's reaction to your questions, I think he's either involved or protecting whoever is. That's a serious accusation against my head of security. I know, but I've been watching him for 3 months. He knows things he shouldn't know. He asks questions that seem casual but aren't. And he was assigned to Scorpion Unit logistics before my mission. He had access to everything we needed, routes, intelligence, team compositions. If someone wanted to sell us out, he'd be in the perfect position to do it. The general processes this information, his expression thoughtful. Finally, he speaks again, his voice carefully controlled. 3 years ago, I recommended keeping the investigation into your team's deaths open. I was overruled by someone with more authority than me. Someone who wanted Scorpion Unit and everything associated with it buried quickly and quietly. When you disappeared, the official conclusion was that you were the traitor and had either gone underground or been eliminated by your foreign handlers. I feel anger flare hot in my chest. That's convenient. Blame the dead operative who can't defend herself. It was too convenient. Your record was spotless. Your loyalty was unquestioned. The evidence against you was circumstantial at best. But it gave everyone a tidy answer and a reason to close the case. I suspected you were either actually dead or doing exactly what you just described. Hunting. And I hoped it was the latter. Why? Because I've been building my own case, Operative Archer. Quietly, carefully, without official channels. The intelligence breaches have continued, and I've been documenting every one. But I can't move without solid proof. If I accuse someone in command operations of treason without ironclad evidence, my career ends, and the investigation dies with it. I need more than patterns and suspicions. I need concrete proof. My pulse quickens. This is it. The moment I've been working toward for 3 years. An ally with actual authority. Someone who can turn my fragments of evidence into something actionable. I have digital breadcrumbs, I say quickly. Encrypted communications, financial irregularities, travel records that don't match official logs. But I need access to secure servers to connect everything definitively. I need clearance I don't have anymore. Kowalski nods slowly, his mind clearly working through the implications. If I help you, this stays completely off the books. No official reports, no oversight, no paper trail. Just you, me, and whatever evidence we can compile. Because if we're wrong, if we accuse the wrong person or show our hand too early, we both disappear. Permanently. I've been dead for 3 years, General. I've got nothing left to lose. He extends his hand. Then let's bring a traitor into the light. I shake his hand firmly, feeling the weight of what we're committing to. This could save me or destroy me, but either way, I'm finally not alone in this fight. Over the next week, everything changes. Kowalski creates a cover story about enhanced security protocols requiring deep cleaning of secure areas during off hours. Suddenly, Vera Collins has after-hours access to restricted terminals, always with proper authorization, always with a legitimate reason to be there. I work at night when the offices are mostly empty. The silence is eerie, broken only by the hum of computers and the occasional footsteps of security patrols that Kowalski has carefully routed away from my location. I cycle through encrypted files, cross-referencing communications with the timeline of my failed mission and the subsequent breaches. Owen provides remote support, his voice crackling through my hidden earpiece as he guides me through firewalls and decryption protocols. This is insane, Viv, he whispers during our 3rd night of work. If you get caught, there's no way out. They'll throw away the key. I won't get caught. That's what you said 3 years ago. His words sting because they're true. But I'm different now. More careful. More patient. And I have Kowalski watching my back, ready to provide cover if anything goes wrong. The evidence comes together slowly. Painfully. Financial transactions routed through shell companies. Encrypted messages sent during odd hours using official clearance codes. Intelligence that appeared in enemy hands within days of being classified. And it all points to a single source, someone in command operations with the access and authority to operate without suspicion. On the 7th night I find it, a message sent the night before my team was ambushed. The coordinates of our entry point. Our extraction routes, our team call signs, everything the enemy needed to slaughter us. The message was sent at 0247 hours from a terminal in the Strategic Planning Office. And the clearance code used to access that terminal belongs to Lieutenant Dalton Cross. My hands are shaking as I photograph the evidence. This is it. This is what I've been hunting for 3 years. Proof that Cross betrayed my team, that he's been selling intelligence for years, that he's responsible for dozens of deaths. I immediately contact Kowalski through our secure channel. Within 20 minutes, he's at the facility reviewing the evidence in his private office while I stand nearby, hardly daring to breathe. This is solid, he says finally. Cross had the access, the opportunity, and based on these financial records, the motive. He's been receiving payments from a foreign intelligence service for at least 6 years. What do we do now? Now we figure out who's been protecting him. Because someone with serious authority has been covering his tracks, burying investigations, making sure he stays untouchable. We take down Cross, but we need to take down his handler too, or this just continues with someone else. Before I can respond, we hear footsteps in the hallway outside, fast, purposeful footsteps. Then the door bursts open without warning. Lieutenant Dalton Cross stands in the doorway, his sidearm drawn and pointed directly at me. His face is twisted with rage and something that looks almost like desperation. You couldn't just stay dead, could you, Archer? Time seems to slow down. I see Cross's finger tightening on the trigger. See the cold calculation in his eyes as he aims at my chest. General Kowalski moves instinctively, reaching for his own weapon. But Cross is faster, swinging the gun toward him. Don't even think about it, General. Hands where I can see them. Both of you, we comply, raising our hands slowly. My mind is racing through options, calculating angles and distances. Cross is standing in the doorway about 12 feet away, too far to rush him before he could fire. The desk between us provides some cover, but not enough. Kowalski's weapon is in a holster on his right hip, visible but unreachable. How did you know? Kowalski asks, his voice remarkably calm for a man with a gun pointed at him. Cross laughs bitterly. You think I don't monitor access to secure terminals? You think I don't notice patterns? When cleaning staff suddenly start working overnight in restricted areas, I pay attention. And when I ran Vera Collins through some deeper background checks, the kind that go beyond the surface, I found all the little holes in her identity. The places where the digital footprint is just a little too perfect, a little too manufactured. So you've known for how long? I ask, trying to keep him talking, trying to find an opening. 3 days. I've been watching you, Archer. Watching you dig through files, taking photographs, building your little case against me. I knew eventually you'd find something. I just needed to wait until you showed your hand completely. Until I knew who you'd brought into this with you. He gestures at Kowalski with the gun. I'm actually disappointed it's you, General. I thought you were smarter than this. Trusting a dead traitor over your own head of security. She's not the traitor, Kowalski says firmly. You are. We have proof. Communications, financial records, everything we need to connect you to the intelligence leaks going back 6 years. Proof that will never see the light of day. Because here's what's going to happen. I'm going to shoot Archer. Claim she broke into the facility and attacked us both. You tried to stop her, but unfortunately in the struggle you were killed too. A tragedy. A decorated general murdered by a rogue operative. I'll be the hero who avenged you. You can't possibly think that will work, I say. Too many people know I've been here. Rhonda, Jerome, the other staff. They'll know something's wrong. They know Vera Collins worked here. A quiet woman who kept to herself and then suddenly went crazy and violent. It happens. And with both of you dead, who's going to contradict my version of events? He's right, and we both know it. Without Kowalski to corroborate my investigation. Without the evidence we've gathered, I'm just a dead operative with a manufactured identity who broke into a military facility. Cross can spin this however he wants, but then Kowalski speaks, and there's something almost like satisfaction in his voice. You're assuming we're the only ones who know. That was your mistake, Lieutenant. Cross's eyes narrow. What are you talking about? Every piece of evidence Archer found, every communication, every financial record, it's all been backed up and sent to multiple secure locations. People I trust. People who have orders to release everything if anything happens to either of us. It's a bluff. It has to be. We haven't had time to set up that kind of failsafe. But Cross doesn't know that. I see uncertainty flicker across his face. You're lying. Am I? Are you willing to bet your freedom on that? Because if you pull that trigger, if we disappear, the evidence goes public, and then it doesn't matter what story you tell. You'll be exposed as a traitor who sold out American operatives for money. The gun wavers slightly. Cross is thinking, calculating, trying to decide if Kowalski is bluffing. The silence stretches, taut as a wire. Then Cross's expression hardens. Even if that's true, even if the evidence gets out, I have protection. People higher up the chain who need me, who benefit from what I provide. They'll bury it. They'll make it go away, just like they've buried everything else. Who? I demand. Who's protecting you, Cross? Give us a name. Why would I do that? So you can add it to your little collection of evidence? No, I think I'll take my chances. Better to deal with potential exposure than guaranteed death. His finger tightens on the trigger again. This is it. He's made his decision. In another second, he's going to fire, and I have maybe one chance to do something about it. But before I can move, before Cross can shoot, the lights in the office suddenly go out. Complete darkness. And in that darkness, I hear Cross's voice, confused and angry. What the? I don't hesitate. I drop and roll to the side, using the desk for cover, moving on pure instinct and training. I hear the gunshot, impossibly loud in the enclosed space, feel the bullet impact the wall somewhere behind where I was standing. Then the emergency lights kick in, bathing everything in a dim red glow. And I see that Kowalski has moved too, tackling Cross while he was disoriented by the darkness. They're struggling for the weapon, 2 trained men fighting with brutal efficiency. I launch myself forward, joining the fight. My hand closes around Cross's wrist, the one holding the gun, and I twist hard, using leverage and angle to break his grip. The weapon falls, skittering across the floor. Kowalski's fist connects with Cross's jaw, a solid hit that snaps his head back. Cross is skilled. I'll give him that. He fights like someone who's been in real combat, not just training exercises, but he's facing two operatives, and he's already off balance from the surprise of the lights going out. Within seconds, Kowalski has him face down on the floor, knee pressed into his spine, arms wrenched behind his back. I grab the fallen weapon, keeping it trained on Cross while Kowalski secures him with zip ties that he produces from somewhere. Only when Cross is fully restrained do I allow myself to breathe. The lights, I say, still trying to understand what happened. How, Owen, Kowalski says simply. I contacted your brother 3 days ago. Told him what we were doing. He's been monitoring the facility systems remotely, ready to help if we needed it. When he saw Cross enter my office through the security feeds, he killed the lights. I feel a surge of emotion so strong it almost knocks me over. Owen, my brother, watching from miles away, protecting me like he's been doing for 3 years. Cross spits blood on the floor, glaring up at us with pure hatred. This doesn't change anything. I still have protection. You can't touch me. Then give us the name, Kowalski says coldly. Tell us who's been covering for you and maybe we can work out a deal. Reduce sentence in exchange for testimony. Cross is silent for a long moment. Then slowly, a bitter smile spreads across his face. You want a name? Fine. Deputy Director Ellen Thorne. She's been running this network for 15 years, using Scorpion Unit and other special operations teams as pawns, eliminating anyone who got too close to the truth. She needed someone on the inside who could provide intelligence and make problems disappear. That someone was me. The name hits like a thunderbolt. Ellen Thorne. I know that name. She's high enough in the intelligence community to have access to everything, trusted enough that no one would question her decisions, and she's been selling out American operatives for 15 years. Why? I ask, the word barely more than a whisper. Why betray your own people? Cross laughs, a sound without humor. Money, power, the things that actually matter in this world. Thorne built an empire selling secrets, and I was smart enough to be part of it. Your team wasn't personal, Archer. You were just in the wrong place at the wrong time, asking the wrong questions. You had to be eliminated. My team, I say, my voice shaking with rage. Sarah, Marcus, Chen, Rodriguez, Captain Hayes, they weren't pawns. They were people. They had families, lives, futures, and you murdered them for money. I did my job, and I'd do it again. Kowalski's hand tightens on Cross's shoulder, and I see him struggling to maintain his composure. You're going to give us everything. Every operation Thorne compromised. Every operative she had killed. Every piece of intelligence she sold. All of it. Or what? You'll charge me with treason? I'm dead either way, but at least this way Thorne goes down with me. Over the next 6 hours, Cross talks. Kowalski records everything while I listen, each revelation making me feel sicker. The scope of Thorne's operation is staggering. Dozens of compromised missions, hundreds of deaths, a network of traitors that extends far beyond what we imagined. By dawn, we have everything we need. Kowalski makes encrypted calls to people he trusts, people outside Thorne's reach. Within 24 hours, coordinated raids arrest Thorne and 17 other individuals connected to her network. The evidence is overwhelming. Her empire collapses in a matter of days. 6 months later, I stood in Arlington National Cemetery with wildflowers clutched in my hands, the kind that grow wild along highways and forgotten fields. The expensive bouquets felt wrong for the people buried here. My team had been scrappy, resourceful, the kind of operatives who made miracles happen with duct tape and determination. They deserved flowers that refused to be tamed. I knelt beside the first headstone, Captain Maria Vance. She'd saved my life twice, once in Morocco and once in Libya. I traced her name with my fingertips. We got them, Maria, I whispered. Every single one of them. Cross is serving consecutive life sentences. Thorne will die in prison. The network is destroyed. You can rest now. The wind picked up, scattering loose petals across the perfectly manicured grass. I moved to the next grave, then the next, repeating their names like a prayer. Daniel, Michael, Christina, James. Each one a friend, a mentor, a brother or sister in arms. Each one betrayed by people who should have protected them. When I finished, I stayed there on my knees, feeling the morning sun warm my back. For 3 years I'd been running on rage and determination, fueled by the need to make this right. Now that it was done, I felt hollow. Not empty in a bad way, just quiet. Like a storm that finally passed, leaving behind clear skies and the work of rebuilding. Thought I'd find you here. General Kowalski's voice came from behind me. I didn't turn around. He walked up slowly, respectfully, and stood beside me. He wasn't in uniform today. Just slacks and a button-down shirt, looking more like someone's grandfather than a 4-star general. "The Senate Intelligence Committee wants to meet with you next week," he said. "They're pushing for a Medal of Honor, presidential commendation, the works." I finally looked up at him. "I don't want medals, sir." I told them you'd say that. He smiled slightly. "They don't care. You exposed a 15-year espionage operation. You prevented countless future attacks. You're a hero whether you want to be or not. Heroes don't spend 3 years mopping floors while their friends' killers walk free. Heroes do whatever it takes." His voice was firm. "You survived. You adapted. You never gave up. That's what makes someone a hero. Not the glory, the persistence." I stood up, brushing dirt from my knees. "What happens now? Do I go back to being operative Archer? Take orders? Pretend the last 3 years didn't happen?" Kowalski shook his head. "The intelligence community has changed. We've implemented new oversight protocols, independent review boards, whistleblower protections that actually mean something. What happened to Scorpion Unit can't happen again, but I need people I can trust to make sure those protocols are followed. People who know what it's like when the system fails. You want me to be a watchdog. I want you to help me rebuild something worth protecting. Train the next generation. Make sure they understand that loyalty goes both ways, that we owe them truth and protection, not just dangerous missions and convenient deaths." It was tempting. God, it was tempting. But I'd spent 3 years being someone I wasn't, and I wasn't sure I could go back to being who I was. "I need time to think about it," I said. "Take all the time you need. The offer stands." He reached into his pocket and pulled out something small, wrapped in cloth. "I thought you should have this." I unwrapped it carefully. Inside was Maria Vance's dog tags, the ones she'd been wearing when she died. I'd thought they were lost. "How did you get these?" My voice cracked. "I've been collecting them. All of your team's personal effects that were filed away and forgotten. I thought when this was over they should go to someone who remembers them as people, not just casualty numbers." Tears blurred my vision. I clutched the tags so hard the metal edges bit into my palm. "Thank you." He nodded and walked away, giving me privacy for the grief I'd been holding back for years. That evening I sat in Owen's apartment, surrounded by takeout containers and his collection of vintage arcade machines. He'd insisted on cooking, which meant ordering from 5 different restaurants, because he couldn't decide what I'd want. Classic Owen. "So the government wants to give you shiny medals," he said, stealing an egg roll from my plate. "Are you going to let them?" "I don't know. Feels weird accepting praise for something that never should have happened in the first place. You stopped bad people from doing bad things, that's worth celebrating." He paused, studying my face. "But you're not sure you want to go back to that world. Am I that obvious? You're my sister. I know when you're wrestling with something." He set down his chopsticks. "For what it's worth, I think you'd be amazing at whatever you choose. Operative, trainer, consultant, professional couch surfer. You've earned the right to decide what your life looks like." "When did you get so wise?" "I've always been wise. You just never noticed because you were too busy jumping out of helicopters and defusing bombs." I laughed. It felt good. Normal. Like maybe I could have a life that included laughter instead of just survival. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Ms. Archer, this is Patricia Chen from Sentinel Security Group. General Kowalski suggested I reach out. We're looking for experienced operatives to head our threat assessment division. Better hours than government work. Significantly better pay. And you'd be protecting corporate clients, not risking your life in war zones. Interested in a conversation?" I showed Owen the message. He grinned. "Private sector. That's new. Is it selling out if I'm tired of being shot at?" It's called self-preservation, also known as having functioning brain cells. I typed back a response. I'm interested. Let's talk. Maybe I didn't need to be Operative Archer anymore. Maybe I could be something else. Something that didn't require faking my own death or scrubbing floors to find truth. Maybe I could just be Vivian, someone who'd survived hell and decided she deserved a life worth living. The next morning, I went back to Camp Aldridge one last time, not as Vera Collins, the janitor, as myself. Rhonda was in the break room, sorting through cleaning supplies. When she saw me, her face lit up with recognition and shock. Vera, oh my God, honey, we thought you'd quit. Where have you been? I hugged her tight. It's a long story, but I wanted to say thank you. For the cookies, for the kindness, for treating me like family when I needed it most. You were family, sweetie. Still are. I left her my real contact information, made her promise to call if she ever needed anything. Then I walked through those halls one last time, past the offices where I'd gathered evidence, past the corridor where everything had unraveled. They'd dismissed me as a simple woman carrying a mop. They'd looked through me like I was invisible, irrelevant, powerless. And that dismissal had been my greatest advantage, because people who are underestimated have the freedom to see everything while being seen as nothing. I'd learned that power isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's in the patience to wait, the courage to stay invisible, the determination to gather truth piece by piece until you have enough to shatter lies. As I drove away from Camp Aldridge for the last time, I glanced at Maria's dog tags hanging from my rearview mirror. We did it, I said softly. We finally did it. The truth had come out, justice had been served, and I'd survived to tell the story. Sometimes that's all the victory you need.